For decades, Germany and Russia shared a complex relationship defined by history, trade, and politics. Germany, the economic powerhouse of Europe, relied heavily on Russian energy, while Moscow viewed Berlin as one of the few European capitals willing to maintain dialogue despite tensions. But in 2025, that fragile balance shattered. Germany has finally reached a breaking point with Russia, sending a clear and thunderous message: get out of here, enough is enough. This sudden escalation did not come out of nowhere. It was years in the making. From the early 2000s, Russia cultivated energy dependency in Europe through massive gas pipelines like Nord Stream 1 and the controversial Nord Stream 2, making Germany a central hub. Many warned this would give Moscow dangerous leverage, but Berlin pursued it anyway, hoping trade would stabilize relations. That illusion collapsed when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. Germany faced enormous pressure from NATO and the EU to cut ties, sanction Moscow, and support Kyiv militarily. Initially hesitant, Berlin slowly shifted its policies, sending weapons, reducing energy dependence, and building closer ties with Washington. Yet, for ordinary Germans, the cost was immense: skyrocketing energy prices, inflation, and industries struggling to adapt. Even so, Germany remained committed to Europe's collective stand against Russia. But recent Russian actions, from cyberattacks, espionage rings, and disinformation campaigns, to military intimidation in the Baltics and Eastern Europe, have pushed Germany over the edge. The patience of Berlin's leadership has run out. Espionage scandals rock Germany. Over the past year, German intelligence uncovered multiple Russian spy networks operating inside the country. These weren't just low-level agents. Reports revealed Russian operatives infiltrating political institutions, business networks, and even attempting to manipulate media narratives. In March 2025, German authorities arrested several individuals accused of spying for Moscow, including attempts to sabotage weapons shipments destined for Ukraine. The German Interior Minister called it a direct assault on our democracy and security. This wasn't the first time Russia was caught meddling. In 2019, a Georgian dissident was assassinated in Berlin, later linked to Russian state operatives. Cyberattacks on the Bundestag, hacking of critical infrastructure, and propaganda networks pushing anti-EU narratives only deepened suspicions. But now, the scale and boldness of Russian activities reached unprecedented levels, forcing Germany to act decisively. The military dimension. Germany, once reluctant to increase defense spending, is now rearming at record speed. Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Zeitenwende, turning point speech in 2022 marked the beginning, but the full effect is being felt in 2025. Billions are being poured into modernizing the Bundeswehr, Germany's armed forces, with new tanks, aircraft, and missile defense systems. What's more, Berlin recently announced plans to station additional German troops permanently in Lithuania and Poland as part of NATO's frontline deterrence against Russia. This is a historic shift. Germany, long cautious about military assertiveness due to its World War II legacy, is now at the spearhead of Europe's defense. For Moscow, this is a nightmare scenario. Germany is not only cutting economic ties but transforming into a strategic military power aimed squarely at containing Russia. And Berlin has made it clear: any further Russian provocations will be met with united, forceful responses. Part 2. Germany's message to Russia: get out. The phrase, "get out of here," has become more than rhetoric. It symbolizes a full-scale German pivot away from Russia, and a determination to drive Russian influence out of Europe. Economic divorce from Moscow. For decades, Germany's economy thrived on cheap Russian gas. That era is over. Since 2022, Berlin has slashed Russian imports by over 90%, replacing them with liquefied natural gas (LNG) from the US, Norway, and Qatar. Terminals are being built at record speed on Germany's northern coast, ensuring independence from Moscow's pipelines. German companies, once deeply invested in the Russian market, have pulled out in droves. Giants like Siemens, Volkswagen, and BASF have reduced or abandoned operations in Russia, redirecting their focus toward Asia, North America, and intra-European trade. The message is clear: Russia will never again hold Germany hostage through energy or trade. Berlin takes the lead in Europe. The European Union is watching closely. France traditionally positions itself as Europe's military voice, but Germany's decisive stance against Russia is reshaping EU geopolitics. Berlin is not just following Washington's lead anymore, it is actively shaping policy. From pushing tougher sanctions to spearheading military aid packages for Ukraine, Germany is emerging as the central figure in Europe's confrontation with Moscow. Eastern European nations like Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, long skeptical of German caution, now view Berlin as a reliable partner. This unity has dealt a crushing blow to Russia's strategy of exploiting European divisions. Instead of breaking the EU apart, Moscow's aggression has bound Europe more tightly together, with Germany at its core. Germany versus Russia in the global arena. Beyond Europe, Germany is rallying international support against Russian influence. At the United Nations, Berlin has become one of the loudest voices condemning Moscow's actions, while German diplomats work tirelessly to persuade countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America not to side with the Kremlin. Even more significantly, Germany is stepping up military exports, becoming a top supplier of advanced tanks, air defense systems, and artillery to Ukraine. The famous Leopard 2 tanks, once seen as a controversial escalation, are now symbols of Germany's resolve. Russia, for its part, has responded with fury. State media in Moscow portrays Germany as a US puppet, accusing Berlin of betraying its history and dragging Europe into war. But the reality is simpler. Germany has had enough of Russian bullying, and it is fighting back with every tool available. The future of German-Russian relations. Looking forward, the prospect of reconciliation between Berlin and Moscow seems distant. Too much damage has been done. Germany no longer trusts Russia as a partner, and Russia no longer sees Germany as a neutral actor. The new German stance is rooted in one unshakable principle: Europe must never again be vulnerable to Russian aggression. This philosophy will define Berlin's policies for years to come, ensuring that Moscow remains isolated until it changes course. Conclusion. A new era in Europe. Germany's loud declaration, "Enough! Get out of here," marks a historic turning point. For decades, Berlin tried to balance economic cooperation with Moscow against loyalty to NATO and the EU. That balancing act is over. Today, Germany is fully aligned with the Western camp, determined to strip away Russian influence from Europe's political, economic, and military landscape. It is investing in defense, securing energy independence, leading the EU, and standing shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. The consequences are enormous. Russia has lost its most important European partner. Europe has gained a stronger, more assertive Germany. And the world is witnessing the rebirth of Germany not just as an economic giant, but as a strategic power unafraid to confront Moscow. The message could not be clearer. Germany has had enough of Russia, and it will do everything in its power to drive Moscow out of Europe's future.